Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has declared that India is a top-tier security partner during a landmark visit to India's first domestically built aircraft carrier. Joining me now live from Delhi is Australian Strategic Policy Institute analyst Dr Teesta Prakash. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. As we've just heard there, a number of questions were thrown at Anthony Albanese today surrounding foreign policy, but also India's relationship over many years with Russia. That particular aircraft is based on Russian design. Why won't India publicly condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine?
Thanks so much for having me. I think that is the principal question that we're facing right now, and what we cannot ignore is history. India has been historically not aligned, as you said, but that wasn't a choice made out of favorable political circumstances. It was simply because there was a policy constraint, and India was dependent on then the USSR during the Cold War for defense exports, and that sort of the lineage of that has carried on through post-Cold War as well. But it isn't as if India hasn't condemned Russia. There has been claims from Prime Minister Modi coming out very boldly and saying this is not a time of war, and I think those kind of claims should not be taken lightly. And it's going to take some time for India to diversify its exports, and we shouldn't be waiting with bated breath for India to come out and condemn Russia. But I think more seriously for Australia, I think as a partner, as a top-tier security partner, it is in its own interest to help India diversify, so to reach out to Israel, to Australia, to France, to the US, to sort of help diversify its own defense and defense export and manufacturing.
Yes, and it was quite a strong comment, top-tier security partner. I guess why should Australia feel confident that India would come to the aid of allies if push comes to shove?
I think the key here is understanding that Australia and India have the same sort of strategic dilemma here, and that is strictly pertaining to China. And even the relationship with India's relationship with Russia is kind of related to its relationship with China. Before 24th February 2022, the day of invasion, Russia and China basically sent out their own treaty of friendship, which said that it's a no-limits partnership, which sends very, very dangerous signals to New Delhi, because when you have a no-limits relationship between Russia and China, what it means for, what kind of power China holds over Russia in this partnership is unclear. And therefore, I think understanding this kind of strategic conundrum for Canberra would be really important. And I think longer term, more broadly speaking, for Australia and China, the strategic convergence is on creating a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. And I think the larger term goal right now should be on securing sort of sea lines of communication, to make sure the Quad partners are completely on the same page, to convince Southeast Asia that this is not a force for evil, it's a force for good, as Indian Foreign Minister Jay Shankar said at the Raisina Dialogue earlier this week. So I think overall the strategic convergence for Australia and India is more on China, and Russia is basically seen through the prism of China.
Yeah, and no doubt a number of those topics you mentioned will come up in the bilateral talks later today. You mentioned trade as well. What areas in particular will India look to Australia for?
I think given the accelerated pace of Australia-India relations in the last 2 to sort of 3-4 years, actually, trade and economics has been the one that has been the weakest pillar so far. Of course, the signing of ECTA and it being coming into action on the 29th of December last year symbolizes that both governments have strong political will to capitalize on their commercial relationships. But critically, India is looking to Australia for its critical energy and mineral needs, including coal, which can be sort of problematic when you think about it from a renewable sort of energy lens. However, I think there is, on the other hand, you also have Australia looking to India for students, and there's this cultural sort of relationship as well, given that Indians are the largest growing diaspora group in Australia. So it's a multifaceted relationship, and of course, trade and economics is something that carry the relationship and make it sort of leadership agnostic, right? Because it doesn't really rely on the commitment of the leaders to carry forward the relationship, because trade and economics just does it for you, and it just carries on the relationship regardless who's in power on either side.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's been an interesting few days so far, and especially ahead of those bilateral talks today. Dr. Teesta Prakash, we have to leave it there. Appreciate you joining us from Delhi. Thank you.